Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. A calmer day today, sunny spells, still icy stretches around as it's still on the cold side. Then an Atlantic weather system moves in tonight, bringing an increasing risk of rain and snow. Cold air, indicated by the blues, is going to be replaced by much milder air from the Atlantic later Sunday and into Monday, but accompanied by some strong winds and heavy rain and snow in places for a time as well. For Saturday afternoon, plenty of sunny spells across the UK. Wintry showers still across eastern England, cloudier here, and also cloudier for parts of Scotland with some showers in place. Temperatures this afternoon, where they've been the last few days, 2 to 5 Celsius, so on the cold side, but a bit more sunshine around. May just feel a little better out there. Into this evening time, we'll see showers across northern parts of Scotland, some of these falling as snow over the higher ground, some icy stretches possible. Drier across the rest of Scotland, temperatures near freezing, and then dropping below into the early hours. Cloudier skies, though, for Northern Ireland as the weather system starts to bring some rain in here, but largely dry across much of England and Wales. Temperatures falling below freezing as those skies continue to clear. Icy stretches likely, particularly where we've seen snow melt as well. Now, this weather system bringing rain to Northern Ireland, initially western parts of Scotland, but it's going to bump into that cold air and turn to snow. Met Office warning for snow and ice. We could see 30 centimetres over the higher ground. Freezing rain lower down as well could lead to some issues. This also affecting northern England. Icy stretches in the east where temperatures fall well below freezing. So there's likely to be disruption first thing on Sunday morning as this system continues to push its way eastwards. Further heavy snow in places, particularly parts of northeast Scotland, but eventually the snow turning to rain as we move through into the afternoon as milder air pushes in, but everyone having a wet and windy afternoon. This could lead to some flooding as the snow starts to melt into the beginning of next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Samantha, Jeffrey, thank you for your time tonight on The Late Show Live. Really appreciate it. This is a story that, amongst all the stories of wars and murders and crime and so on, at least it's given us a laugh, and at least the raccoon is okay. Just explain to us, if you can, Samantha, exactly what happened. Where was the raccoon found? Where is he now? Who found him, and so on?
Yeah, so the store manager went to open up the ABC store here in Ashland, Virginia, and discovered a bunch of broken bottles in the back room. Upon further investigation, he was also located a raccoon that was passed out in one of the bathrooms. He had locked himself in the bathroom, and that's when the store manager called us to get him.
So first things first, how on earth did he end up in the store? How did he get in there?
So he fell through the ceiling. So he went through a ceiling tile and took out the wiring for the video camera as he was falling down. So we don't have a whole lot to go off of, just what the evidence that we encountered when we got to the scene of the crime.
So he fell through the ceiling, and I guess he landed on, because there's pictures here we've got of bottles of, I think it's whiskey, just strewn all over the store. So he must have fallen through the ceiling onto the shelves, smashed all the bottles, and then I guess from there thought it was going to be a great idea to, lap up all the alcohol on the floor?
I guess so. He just decided to have a party.
And who found him?
The store manager.
What was their reaction? Have you spoken to them? What were their first sort of comments to you when I guess they called you to report the raccoon passed out in the bathroom, right?
Yeah, they were a little bit distraught. They didn't know how to get him out. They obviously did not want to pick him up themselves. That's why they called us for assistance.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Pick him up themselves. That's why they called us for assistance.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, it's 1 o'clock on Saturday the 10th of January. Already, I know. This is the weekend on GB News. Packed hour for you coming up. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick says the police are giving in to Islamists because it is too challenging to confront them. Is he right, though? And Iran's supreme leader has accused protesters of ruining their own streets to please Donald Trump. That's as violent unrest across the country spreads, with President Trump saying the Ayatollah is preparing to flee to Russia. Are we witnessing the fall of the Iranian regime? And GB News is live in Hungary, witnessing the security measures in place to prevent illegal migration. Are there things politicians could be doing here? Could we learn from Hungary? And a man has been found dead after a tree fell into a caravan during the havoc brought. Elon Musk has said critics of his social media site X are looking for any excuse for censorship. Downing Street is threatening a crackdown on the site after the creation of sexualized AI images on the platform by Grok. And sources have told GB News a devastating stealth attack could accelerate the number of British churches crumbling into disrepair. And The Traitors, huge on TV, but is it racist? The series has been caught out in an explosive race route as started out at the BBC competition for unconscious bias. Stay tuned for details on that one. I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is The Weekend. So thank you so much for your company on this Saturday afternoon. Very, very grateful for it, as always. And remember, this show is all about you and what you want to have to chat about. It doesn't even matter if it's not connected to the programme. To be honest with you, I don't care. I just like having the natter with you all on a Saturday afternoon. And gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved, or you can scan the QR code thing. And let's have a chat, basically. I will read it as many out as I possibly can. We're talking about everything from the situation in Iran, Greenland to David Bowie. And lots of you are getting in touch with tributes and memories about David Bowie. I love reading them out as well. I'm married to a #1 fan, I think, but lots of you are already. So please do share those memories. I'm loving reading them. gbnews.com/your say. OK, we have got a packed house, so I better shut up rabbiting and let Bethany Elsey rabbit over the news headlines for you.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories at 1:02. Tens of thousands of people in England have been left without power and one person has been killed in Cornwall following Storm Goretti. Devon and Cornwall Police says a man in his 50s has been found dead after a tree fell onto a caravan in the Morgan area of Helston on Thursday evening. The storm brought heavy snow, ice, rain and strong winds across Britain, causing flight cancellations and road closures. Yellow weather warnings for snow and ice will remain in place until tomorrow. Iran is facing international condemnation over the killing of anti-government protesters. At least 48 people have been killed since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago. And to try and curb the growing unrest, internet and phone lines have been shut off and flights have been cancelled. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has issued a joint statement alongside the leaders of France and Germany, urging Tehran to exercise restraint. And Donald Trump has also threatened to use force if the violence doesn't stop. Donald Trump says the US needs to own Greenland to prevent China or Russia from taking it. He added he will do it the easy way or the hard way. The White House says his administration is considering buying the autonomous Danish territory, but has not ruled out a full annexation by force. Both Denmark and Greenland say the territory is not for sale and that military action would spell the end of the transatlantic defence alliance. A video filmed by the US immigration agent who fatally shot a woman in Minneapolis has emerged, showing the moments before he opened fire. The US Vice President J.D. Vance had accused the driver of using her car as a weapon and says this latest footage shows the officer acting in self-defense. Renee Nicole Good was a mother of 3, and her wife, Becca, who was at the scene, said they stopped in the street to support their neighbours, adding that they had whistles, but the officers had guns. A state of disaster has been declared in the Australian state of Victoria after days of intense bushfires. The fires have scorched more than 300,000 hectares, destroyed more than 100 homes and left tens of thousands without power. Firefighters are still trying to tackle 10 blazes that continue to burn out of control. A Metropolitan Police officer has been sacked after he failed to notify his employer about a previous arrest and being investigated over firearms offences. Mohammed Bhatti was accused by an ex-partner of threatening her with 2 pistols, and Sussex police had previously arrested him for drink driving after an accident. No charges were ever brought. A misconduct hearing has heard that the experienced officer, who also featured in a Met Police documentary, failed to disclose these 2 incidents on vetting forms in 2020. He said he didn't remember being arrested. The UK will spend £200 million preparing British troops for deployment to Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire with Russia. The Defence Secretary John Healey announced the money during a visit to Ukraine yesterday. The government says the fund will provide new vehicles, communications and counter-drone protection, securing long-term guarantees for Ukraine. Zelensky thanked the UK for its readiness to help. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Now, Bethany is so good because she actually listens to the director in her ear and stops talking when she's told stop talking. I really have a problem with that one, but we have got a lot to get through this hour, so let's get cracking. Show's already nagging. What can I do? So let's get started. Now, the big story we're covering this hour is Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick has claimed Britain faces the fight of our generation against extremists. He warns that police are giving in to Islamists because it is too challenging to confront them. The Shadow Justice Secretary didn't hold off, saying that unless Islamists were challenged, the government and police risked ceding control of the country and its streets. Now, really, really strong words. It's made the front of one of your newspapers today. So we're asking this hour, does Jenrick have a point? Or, as he has done in the past, is he just chasing those headlines again and scaremongering? Joining me now is former chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum, Mohammed Amin. Mohammed, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Mohammed, what do you make of Robert Jenrick's comments?
Good afternoon, Dawn. I read Robert Jenrick's article in the Telegraph very carefully. He makes some points which I agree with. For example, the school teacher in Batley that he mentions, who was badly let down, not just by the police, but by the local authority, by the school, etc., when they should all have been standing up for him because he did absolutely nothing wrong in his teaching.
Of course.
Similarly, the West Midlands Police, I've read the transcript of the appearance of 2 senior officers from the West Midlands Police, the Chief Constable and his assistant, before the Home Affairs Select Committee. And it's quite clear from the questioning by, it's not a party political issue, Liberal Democrat MPs, Labour MPs were very critical about the evidence that they've been given, the decision-making process, etc., and Jenrick is right to criticise that. So some of the things he's talking about are perfectly valid. My problem with Mr. Jenrick is that he uses these instances to paint a picture in his article about Britain being taken over by Islamists, which is just completely wrong.
OK, so Mohammed, what would you say? I mean, I completely agree, and good points, very well made. So what would you say to the other story this week about the UAE restricting students from studying in the UK because they were worried about Muslim students from an Arab country studying here, being radicalised. What would you say to that?
Well, the UAE is not a democracy, it's a monarchy. It's a monarchy that appears to be well supported by its people, which is why I'm not aware of any particular unrest against the monarchy in the UAE. But many of the countries in the Middle East are concerned about issues that they face with potential uprisings against their governments, because these, in general, like Egypt, are not democratic governments. That is a million miles away from the issues that we have in the UK. And Jenrick, for example, has no contrary facts in his article at all. It's totally unbalanced. For example, you would be totally unaware reading Jenrick's article where he talks about mass migration, the failures of integration, etc., that the children of immigrants in this country do better at school than the children of white British people. It's just a fact. It's in government statistics. You can read it on the government website. Jenrick doesn't care about that kind of fact.
OK, no, that's another fair point. I mean, it's not the children of all immigrants. It's certain groups of migrants into this country, just to clarify that. But he also mentions, I think, in one of the pieces today, about the grooming gangs, about the Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, how that was tiptoed around for fear of being accused of Islamophobia and racism. What would you say to that?
I agree with him. It was tiptoed around, which is why the government is now, particularly after Louise Casey's investigation, is being totally rigorous about making sure we have proper data gathering and carrying out an investigation. I'm not trying to pretend that there isn't any kind of problem in this country. The country faces all kinds of problems, whether it's to do with integration issues or the economy or crime generally. The point is that the article is extremely unbalanced. I mean, one thing which really jumped out at me when I read it, I'm a Muslim. One of the things that Jenrick accuses the government of not doing is banning non-stun slaughter for halal meat. By the way, he doesn't mention kosher meat because he doesn't want to be seen as attacking the Jewish community, but he's quite happy attacking Muslims generally. And that's not an attack on Islamism, that's an attack on all Muslims.
So would you say, Mohammed, that this article is Islamophobic?
I never use the word Islamophobic. In my view, this is my opinion, Jenrick is trying to unseat Kemi Badenoch because he wants to be leader of the Conservative Party. And he believes that coming out with these kinds of far-right positions will help him unseat Kemi Badenoch. And that's how this article should be read.
OK, so you are describing what he has said as far-right?
Yes, I am.
OK, so do you think the problem in this country, I mean, you are former chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum, do you think the problem with radical Islam in this country is getting better or getting worse?
I think it's getting better. Every year that goes by, there are more Muslims who are millionaires, there are more Muslims who are partners in major law firms, more Muslim MPs, more partners in major accounting firms, heads of schools, etc. There are more and more white British people who are converting to Islam. We do not have the kind of problem that Jenrick is trying to paint. Yes, we have areas of the country where we could do better on integration. I have spoken on many times about violent Islamist extremism, condemned it, as do most Muslims. But what I'm saying is that Jenrick's article is unbalanced, and I believe it's deliberately unbalanced to suit his political agenda.
And Mohammed, as an ordinary, moderate family Muslim man, would you like to see Robert Jenrick apologise for some of the rhetoric in his article?
I think it would help if he was more open about it. Jenrick is not an ignorant person. In the days of David Cameron's Conservative Party, when Cameron and Osborne were the leaders of the party, Jenrick was regarded as a liberal Cameroon. He's shifted his positions for political reasons, in my view.
Okay, Mohammed, thank you so much for joining me. That's chairman of the Conservative Muslim, former chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum, Mohammed Amin. Thank you very much. Obviously, Robert Jenrick isn't here to defend himself. Mohammed had very strong opinions. You will have strong opinions as well, so do get them coming in at gbnews.com/your say. Join in that conversation. Okay, now let's move over to Hungary again, because the Hungarian Prime Minister's political director has told GB News that Britain's small boats mistake is a warning to Europe on mass migration, and that it is not something that we want here. Hungary's approach, led by Prime Minister Viktor Orban, is aimed at stopping the large influx of illegal migrants crossing the border and basically flooding Europe. So, in theory, it's good for all of us. Our national reporter Charlie Peters has visited the Hungarian border with Serbia today and joins us now live from Budapest. Charlie.
Well, good afternoon, Dawn. Yes, and we're here on a press tour at the invitation of the Hungarian embassy, where yesterday we visited the Serbian border with Hungary. On the Hungarian side, we saw some of the defences they had put up since 2015 in reaction to the mass migration crisis sparked by the Syrian civil war. This is us arriving yesterday, freezing temperatures in the snow, but still, amid these sorts of conditions, they still had to repel around 20 men who had attempted to cross the border fence the night before. 155 kilometres long, around 200 cameras in the small section that we were in yesterday, and a colonel from the border police told us how the tactics had changed on the front line of European migration defence, with the opposition smuggling groups trying to break into the country using ladders, then trying to cut through the wire, and recently using tunnels to dig under the fences. They said 30 tunnels in 2022. But they did talk up the great success of this fence they were able to build in 2015 after it received mass support from Hungarian people. What you're seeing on your screen now is some of the smuggling gangs, they say from Moldovan, Ukrainian and Romanian backgrounds, who've been carrying weapons to the border as part of their offer to those migrants, they say from Syrian, Afghan and also Turkish backgrounds. They said they were paying between 2,000 to 5,000 euros at a time to try and break into Hungary, but that the successful attempts had dropped significantly, and that even the illegal attempts had also sharply fallen amid the measures that they had put up. And crucially, Dawn, what they've got is a legal measure, because they have passed laws in Hungary that allows them to push back anyone who manages to get through the security. They have the power to use force and return anyone through a gate straight back into Serbia. National Security Advisor told us yesterday morning that there were no illegal migrants in Hungary. Seemed very surprised when he put the question back to us journalists, and we said we didn't know how many illegal migrants there were in the United Kingdom, such has been the crisis back home, which led to that very senior figure in the Hungarian government exclusively speaking to GB News this week and saying that the small boats crisis was a mistake and a warning to the rest of Europe, that he felt sad visiting Britain due to the social integration crisis that the country was facing. And he also said, Dawn, that too much of the discussion about the migration and human rights was focused on the human rights of those trying to break into countries illegally and not focused on the human rights of people living in those countries. He said that Hungarians and other European nations had heritage and culture for thousands of years that they needed to protect. Where was, he said, the human rights of those trying to defend their culture rather than those who are allowed to visit and resist deportation for many years? So quite a strident political attack from the Hungarian government towards the British government. And when we put those lines to the Home Office, we did hear from a spokesperson who said that this government and the Home Secretary were furious about illegal migration in Britain, that they had said that they were restoring order and control to our borders, and that almost 50,000 illegal migrants have been removed or deported from British soil, and that was up nearly a quarter from the previous year, which of course is when the Conservatives were in in charge. They went on to say that the Home Secretary has announced the most sweeping reforms to tackle illegal migration in decades, removing the incentives that bring illegal migrants to the UK and scaling up the return of those with no right to be here. Should also add, Dawn, we've just spoken to the Foreign Minister of Hungary a moment ago, who added to those criticisms, saying that too many leaders in Europe, and we pressed him on our Prime Minister, were using dubious language about illegal migration not being strong enough, whereas he said in Hungary, they say if you come here, you will be sent back, and they have no qualms about it. He said that dubious language was incentivizing those to attempt those dangerous crossings.
And Charlie, it's interesting that Hungary's attitude to way of dealing with this is all about a deterrent, i.e. stopping people getting in there in the first place, whereas the attitude in the UK seems to be dealing with the problem once it's already here.
Yes, indeed. And we also asked Balázs Orbán, that senior government figure, what did he make of the smash the gangs policy? The full interview is available on our website and YouTube, of course. And Balázs Orbán said, while of course we work with NGOs and we work with international anti-corruption and criminal gang organisations that deal with people smuggling, the number one proposal to deal with illegal migration is a deterrent, is a strong border, and that he regretted that the Brusselian elite, those in Brussels, he said, who were pushing back against their plans for a deterrent, because, he said, they're paying this €1 million fine a day and a much bigger also €200 million one-off fine because they don't follow EU rules. They push back. He also said he wanted more cooperation with Great Britain on dealing with international laws on migration, such as the ECHR and also the Refugee Convention, the Geneva Convention from the 1950s, but that UK was not engaging with the Hungarians as they tried to push for that change. I mean, this is a government pretty much in crisis, facing an election later this year. It does have a lot of domestic issues. Healthcare is a problem, inflation is a problem, but their key message to their people, and now increasingly to Europeans and now British journalists, is they want to talk about the immigration work they are doing to reduce the issues that we also face in the rest of Europe.
Charlie, thank you very much indeed. That's Charlie Peters live in Budapest for us. Thank you very much for joining us. Interesting that Hungary are being fined that €1 million a day for that. When you consider we have actually given the French nearly €1 billion, it sounds like it's pretty good value for money, doesn't it? Because we've still got the boats coming over, haven't we? OK, now it's time for the Great British Giveaway, and it is ticking on your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner today, as we have an incredible $85,000 in tax-free cash to give away. But if you want to be winning it, you've got to be in it, and here's all the details.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible